is for the win. This 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 is for the win. 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 This is for the win.
Welcome to the CPENN4THEWIN Show. This is your host, Charles Penn. We are back with episode number 13. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, comment, share it on all your social media platforms. And to all those who are subscribed and who are following the Facebook page and the Twitter page and the Instagram page, I appreciate you guys' support. We're going to continue to make the show better moving forward. And we're going to have more guests moving forward too. So I'll be looking forward to that as well. So stay tuned. All right. First things first. We got the NBA draft. The NBA draft just concluded. You guys just seen my NBA draft special with my boy Reese Holiday from Elite Media Group and Mo Can Elite, one of the top AAU programs in the country. We had discussed the NBA draft and the prospects we looked at and everything. And the top three went as expected. I went a little different. I was thinking LaMelo would go number one. He said Ant-Man, and he was on point. Ant-Man went number one to the Charlotte Hornets, not the Charlotte Hornets, but the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Minnesota Timberwolves took him at number one. And Ant-Man, he said some controversial things right before the draft, like the night before. The first comment wasn't really controversial, you would say. He was just saying that Kevin Durant's the best player in the league and he would like to go up against them one game. And, I thought he was smart for the comment. I feel like KD's up there as far as in that category. But I know one thing, he's going to get his welcome to the league moment whenever that matchup happens. Because Kevin Durant is going to give it to him for sure. And so, I like the confidence from the young man in that aspect. But something else he had said too. He said that he can't watch basketball. Like he doesn't mind playing it. He loves playing it, but he can't really watch it. He talked about like how the first time he dunked the basketball, and from that point he knew that he was talented and he can do whatever. But he said like his first love was really football. But at the end of the day, people just felt like he would be a better basketball player, and he stuck with that. And he was just like, he wasn't really into it. He just still loves to do, but he loves to do it. So that people's a little controversy at that, but I don't know if I would have said that out loud. I probably would have just kept that in my head and everything, because you never know. Like, Minnesota could have changed their mind and everything, but I think they was pretty locked in on Anthony Edwards from the beginning anyway, as far as taking on number one. And then what else he said was that he was talking about how like you can do anything on the field in football, like you can celebrate on the field, but like in basketball, like you don't really have that moment to like celebrate for a long period of time. Like you gotta get back locked in, on defense and everything. So that was just one of the few things he said. And then he's talking about he was a better rapper than Damian Lillard, which is kind of nuts. Like I haven't looked to see if he has any music out or anything, but Damian Lillard, he's probably the best rapper in the NBA of all the NBA players that have put out music in the past. So Damian Lillard is up there. For him to say that, I don't know about that. We're just gonna have to see, young man. But the next guy I want to touch on is James Wiseman, and this was totally my fault for not covering James Wiseman in the draft show. I take ownership for that because I had him on the docket, and then all of a sudden, me and Reese was locked in, and somehow it just went away from my head. So I certainly apologize for not covering him. But James Wiseman, I've been hearing a lot of good things, like mostly good things from James Wiseman. James Wiseman, I want to say Reese might have said it, and a few other people that said like James Wiseman kind of has that David Robinson type game. He's a big man, he's a lefty. He can put it on the floor. He's got a good little mid-range jumper. He's strong, and he can run the floor. I do see a little bit of that game in him, and I do see maybe a little bit of Chris Bosh, but not too much. But I know Reese had told me, or he had at least spoken on a podcast and said that James Wiseman, like, just from coaching against him and everything, like the thing with James Wiseman is like if he goes against a big man that's kind of physical, you kind of get off his square a little bit. And that was kind of the case with Dave Robinson too, because like Back in the day, like '95 when Robinson won the NBA MVP, Hakeem Olajuwon had went up against him in the playoffs, and Hakeem Olajuwon destroyed him. Like he did him very bad. So if I mean, it could come to that. It could come to that end if James Wiseman does go against like a skilled big man that has that physical tools and has the pivot moves and the hook shot and just able to face up against them and everything. Just has all the skills of a legit big man. So maybe like if Wiseman goes against somebody like a Joel Embiid for the first time, he could have some issues. But when I look at all the talent that has been drafted in this 2020 NBA draft class, Wiseman he's got a chance to end up being the best player in this draft class, and I can see that. It's just that from my standpoint, I didn't really see him much in high school, so I'm not really that familiar with him from that aspect. And we barely see him in college because the NCAA put out some bogus rule against him after playing the first 3 games of the season. So, but I do know this: Wiseman does have the coaching, the toolage under Penny Hardaway. So Penny Hardaway, he been getting them ready for this moment anyway. So, and teaching them the NBA life and what to expect and what to prepare for and everything. So Wiseman, he's gonna be NBA ready. He's gonna be ready to play right away. So Golden State is definitely a great fit, especially more than now. And I'm gonna touch on that news later on in the show. The third pick, LaMelo Ball. Everybody, the Ball brothers, as we all know, the Ball family in general, it comes with a little controversy at times, especially with LeVar Ball. And people was making jokes about LeVar Ball last night, saying that now that Jordan drafted LaMelo because he want to embarrass LeVar in one-on-one, which was funny. That's funny. which is pretty funny. I hope we do get that one-on-one game, but I kind of doubt it. But if we do get that one-on-one game, that would be a hilarious moment for everybody. But LaMelo Ball, he brings a spark to the Charlotte Hornets. Now, I want to say the Charlotte Hornets, they had a pretty solid draft overall, actually. They kind of swinging for the fences with it, but I like the direction they was going overall. Just starting off with LaMelo Ball, and then you had Jaden McDaniels, and then one of the sleepers, Grant Riller from Charleston. Shout out to Rashad Phillips. He's been very high on Grant Riller. He calls him Ghostface Riller. Riller's a guy that can score and get his own shot and everything. But back to LaMelo. What LaMelo brings, he's the best passer in the draft class by far. He brings his excitement. He can get his offense off and everything. It's just that again, like with the ball family so far, Lonzo's still in the league, but he's still trying to figure it out. So I'm gonna still give Lonzo a chance. Give him a few more chances and everything, but it's just I don't know, man. I don't know if Lonzo's gonna have a long career in the NBA because it looks like he could be on the move again, just based on what New Orleans did in the draft. So, but what LaMelo can do, he can definitely. I'll say this: Charlotte's attendance will go up a little bit, and LaMelo will definitely have an opportunity to run the team. He's gonna get all the usage for the most part. I wouldn't say all the usage, but because you got Devontae Graham there, but LaMelo can definitely run a team, and we're just gonna see how everything plays out. I just know that it's gonna be exciting in Charlotte for years to come. And then the controversial draft pick that everyone's been talking about is Patrick Williams. Now, the reason that people think that it's controversial is that the Bulls took him at number 4. A lot of people thought the Bulls would go the international route, like Denny Avdija. Like he was the guy that was gonna be drafted because their GM is, international. They got a little bit of an international flavor up in that front office now. So they figured that would be the pick. Or some people had said they should have took Obi Toppin at number 4. But Patrick Williams, I kind of like the pick. Now, what people have a controversy with is that Patrick Williams, he came out the bench at Florida State. Like he never started, but Leonard Hamilton told everybody like the guy finished the game. Like even though he didn't start, he would close games for Florida State. And Florida State has been winning a lot of games in the past few years. And you gotta give credit to where it's due to Leonard Hamilton. He's one of the best college coaches in the country and one of the best guys that can get guys ready for the NBA. Seeing that he's put 8 guys in the NBA in the past few years. But Patrick Williams, for what the Bulls want to do, I think he's a good fit. And you gotta look at the Bulls' current roster with the wings. Like Otto Porter, he's barely out there on the court. Like the guy gets hurt. Like seems like every other week he gets hurt. And then you got Chandler Hutchison. And then you got Denzel Valentine. Denzel Valentine, he's not really working out. So I see why the Bulls went that route, because they definitely need that athleticism. And Pat Williams, he can play a little defense too, and run the floor and everything. So I think it'll be a decent fit. But I didn't expect them to go number 4, honestly. I thought it'll drop down a little further. So, but I think the Bulls will be all right. The Bulls, they did all right in the draft. And then now I'm gonna touch on some of the rest of these. Killian Hayes for the Detroit Pistons, he went at number 7. They definitely needed a guard for sure. The Pistons, they in full rebuild mode. They still trying to find a way to get out Blake Griffin's contract currently, but they did pretty well getting Killian Hayes. And then they also had another guy in the draft too that was a great selection. Looks like they got, I can't remember. I think it was I would say Isaiah Stewart. Yep, Isaiah Stewart from Washington. That was a good pickup for Detroit. He was a guy that Washington that was one of the best big men in the Pac-12. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice here. Get some of that body armor in me. But anyway, Isaiah Stewart, he was a decent big man at Washington, so he could definitely play alongside Killian Hayes, and hopefully that combo can do something special in the future for the Pistons. And then I want to touch on Obi Toppin, as I mentioned him earlier, number 8 to the Knicks. Some people, it was a little controversial with the pick, but Obi was definitely slated to go a little earlier. I know my guy Reese, he a guarantee that he'll go to the Cavaliers, but the Cavs, they pulled a curveball on everybody. Got Okoro, which isn't bad. Like, I wasn't sure about the pick, but it's not a bad pick. But Obi Toppin, a lot of controversy came along with him because a lot of people was comparing him to Amari Stoudemire, and I seen a little bit of Amari, but Amari was definitely more explosive, and he had more fluid movement in comparison to Obi. But at the end of the day, I'm not gonna say Obi gonna turn into a superstar or anything, but Obi is gonna play hard for you, and I think he'll be a decent piece moving forward for the Knicks. So, and Obi is from New York, and so I mean, he'll be comfortable. He'll already be comfortable in the atmosphere and everything. It's just that the Knicks organization, you just gotta hope they'll turn around completely one day. And then I want to touch on the number 10 pick in Jalen Smith. Now, this one was surprising because Jalen Smith was very underrated heading into the draft, and he was a guy that I felt like he was looking slept on. You know what I'm saying? Like, he'll be picked later on, like maybe in the middle of the draft or later on in the draft near the end of the first round. But he went number 10 to the Suns, and I want to shout out Justina Knight. She's at Hoop Analysis _35 on Twitter. She's a talent evaluator at Sports Talk 2319. She had mentioned that Jalen Smith can fit well in the motion offense that CP3 is going to run. He can set picks, come off screens, got the little outside jumper. He can roll to the basket, and he's got skills. He's got skills in the post too. So Jalen Smith, I was kind of high on him too. Like, after she had mentioned his name, I looked up a few clips and everything, and Jalen Smith, he looked like he can be a good player one day. Now, he may have to work on his quickness a little bit, but he's got the tools to be a decent big man. I think you could play him with Aiden as well, and she also mentioned that, like, they can run a double screen, and one of the guys can cut to the basket, and one of the guys can pick and pop, hit the jumper, whatever option CP3 wants to go to in that play, in that situation. So, and then another guy I want to touch on is Tyrese Halliburton. Halliburton, he was a guy that had a lot of controversy too, because their national coverage, they had him slated to be the number 10, not the number 10 overall pick, but go top 10 somewhere. But he was just on the outside. He went to 12, but the Sacramento Kings, man, like Sacramento Kings, that's basketball purgatory right now. And I'm just not sure the Kings, they did solid, but some of the guys that I was high on that ended up getting drafted there, I was just like, I wish they was in a different situation. But hopefully, Sacramento can eventually turn things around and get back to them being in the playoffs, because it's been a while since Chris Webber days, Chris Webber and Bibby and Device, when they was good. So, and then I also want to touch on Cole Anthony. Now, me and Reese, we had a little bit of disagreement with Cole Anthony. Now, he was very high on Cole Anthony. He's seen Cole Anthony more often than I have, through the AAU circuit in high school, and mentioned how Cole Anthony put on one of the best high school performances we had seen. And he was just like, he would take Cole #1 overall. And I think Cole, he probably was a product of being in a bad situation in North Carolina. North Carolina, the injuries pop up, and just the talent surrounding Cole Anthony. It was kind of a rough time working around with the talent and everything, and it was basically like a lost season. So I will give Cole a chance here in Orlando. I think it's a good spot for him because Orlando, they definitely need a point guard for sure. DJ Augustine, I don't know if he's still on the roster or not, but he was a guy that you can't really start. Like, he definitely has to come off the bench, but he's definitely a solid veteran, and I think Cole Anthony is gonna give Orlando that spark. And Orlando, they already got another young piece in Mo Bamba. Hopefully they'll develop him and he could turn into something. And Orlando, they still be a playoff contender, and Cole Anthony's gonna give them a little bit of spark. So that's gonna be exciting to watch. And as far as like the rest of the draft's concerned, like RJ Hampton, he went late in the first round. He got drafted in Milwaukee, but he's slated to go to Denver. RJ, he's got athletic ability. He can get to the rim. I've been hearing that his shot has improved a little bit. You just have to wait and see on that. But I think Denver's gonna probably develop him for a while before they really throw him out to the wolves like that, because they already deep in depth as it is. And you gotta give credit to Denver too, man. Denver, they know how to draft, man. They know how to get talent, and they know how to develop them. And when they're ready, they can just throw them out there, and Denver can compete. So I think Denver's gonna be a tough team for years to come. And they also got Zeke Naji from Arizona, and he was a freshman. He averaged like 17 and 9. So he had a decent year, and that's another guy they're going to develop. They're not going to throw out to the wolves like that. So I think it'll be a while before Najee is going to go out there and produce and everything. And then as far as like the late rounds, Peyton Pritchard, I want to shout out my guy Zach Ramey from Off the Glass podcast. He was very high on Peyton Pritchard, and everybody was controversial on him when he said that Peyton Pritchard reminded him of the college version of Jason Kidd at Cal. And I see where he came from with that. I wasn't quite fully in with that comparison, but from the just from watching Jason Kidd at Cal, I had to go back and look at Jason Kidd at Cal and then look at Peyton Pritchard, and I seen a few things from Peyton Pritchard. Peyton Pritchard, he's definitely more offensively advanced at this stage than what Jason Kidd was at college. But at the same time, I think Boston, that would be a great fit for Peyton Pritchard. I kind of didn't want him to be there, but Boston, they did a great job in the draft. Honestly, they got him and Aaron Neesmith from Vanderbilt. He's a guy that can get shot off. He improved from year 1 to year 2 in Vanderbilt. He's offensively gifted. So Boston, that was one of the teams that had a strong draft. And as far as the rest of this talent, man, the second round was very deep, man. But before I get to the second round, I want to touch on Tyrell Terry. That's a guy that I was very shocked. I was very shocked that he went that low in the NBA, that low in the first round, because I felt like he should have been a higher selection, in my opinion. Tyrell Terry, he definitely has the skills that fit today's game. Like, he molds his game. From what I've seen, he molds his game after Steph, and he kind of molds his game after Trae Young a bit. Yeah, I feel like he's a guy that can create out the dribble and get his own shot at any time. So that was a heck of a steal by Dallas, in my opinion. Now, is he going to be able to have the opportunity with Luka there? I don't know. It's kind of tough. He may have to do it off the bench for a minute, but hopefully he'll have the opportunity to do so. I mean, I just don't know if it's going to be in Dallas. But, Tyrell, he's going to be a good player in the NBA. He's going to have a long career for sure. And then, just around the first round, Vernon Carrier Jr. from Duke, he shocked me as far as being drafted low myself, because I felt like he should have been higher too. He was a talented big man in Duke. He kind of didn't quite have like the opportunity I thought he would receive. Duke, with that Duke team last year, I mean, it was kind of like a lost year. Him and Cassius Stanley, but I think Vernon Carrier, he's got the skills to be a decent big man. It's just that I hope Charlotte can develop him and get him to that point. But that pretty much concludes the first round. And then second round, it was it was a lot of talent here in the second round, man. Like Jamias Ramsey, that's the biggest shocker to me. Now, Jamias Ramsey, I felt like he should have been first round, man. Honestly, I don't know how this kid felt all the way 43rd to Sacramento Kings. He checked all the boxes to me. He's everybody say he's kind of like a Marcus Smart, you know, with better offensive bag and everything, and I could definitely see it. I agree with that. And he checked to me when I seen him play at Texas Tech, like he checked all the boxes to me. So I don't know how he fell that far. Hopefully he'll have the opportunity in Sacramento, but hopefully Sacramento knows how to use him and develop him, man. Because I just not a fan of Sacramento right now, as far as a basketball environment is concerned. And then you got other notables. Trey Jones went to the San Antonio Spurs. That was a big steal for them. Trey Jones, he's a floor general. He can run a team. He's good defensively. Now, offensively, he may not be the best offensively. Like he's trying to work on that, but I could see him, you know, becoming like, you know, Patty Mills understudy in that Spurs system. So Spurs, they definitely got a decent player. And then you got other guys. Kenyon Martin's son, I was very surprised he got drafted. And it goes back to Sacramento Kings again, man. I just don't know about them. But Kenyon Martin's son, I felt like I didn't think he would get drafted at all. I mean, I didn't see him being a guy that would get drafted. But you know, he didn't really play in college. He didn't play in college. Like he just took a year off and everything. But he may have some. I just think Kenyon Martin's son getting drafted. I think his dad might have put some connections in on that one. So we got to see how that plays out. And then you got Cassius Winston. He went near the end of the draft. That's another shocker to me. I know he's a little undersized for the NBA, but he had a heck of a college career. Like you look at what he did in Michigan State. It's like right up there. He's probably like he's a top 3 point guard in Michigan State history. You know, behind Mateen Cleaves and Magic Johnson. He's a guy that's he's a guy that you can have him come off the bench and he'll be able to run the second unit, and the second unit will probably be one of the best in the league. So Cassius Winston, he's gonna be another guy who's gonna be playing for a very long time. And then, you know, just to wrap up like this draft coverage and everything, there was a few guys that got undrafted, and I felt like Miles Powell stood out to me. Like I understand that Miles Powell is undersized for, you know, a shooting guard. Like he's only 6 feet and everything, but Miles Powell, he can get a bucket. He can get a shot at any time. And I felt like Miles should have been drafted somewhere here in the second round. I just hope that he does get the opportunity with the New York Knicks. I seen the New York Knicks signed him and everything, and hopefully he'll be able to flourish. And whether it's like a guy that you can put in off the bench and give you that scoring boost. And we'll just have to see what happens with that, man. Because I don't know, man. Speaking of undrafted kids, man, like there's a long list of names we have here, man. Devon Dyson from KU, Josh Hall, and Marcus Howard, who's the first player to ever score over 2,500 points at any of the 6 major conferences and not get drafted, which is crazy. Like he's another undersized guy that can get his shot off, but I just felt like he could have been drafted like near the end of the draft in general. But you know, some of these teams, they be looking at size in general when it comes to like, you know, shooting guards and everything. He's another victim of that, unfortunately. And that you know, got Mason Jones and Lamine Diane, Ashton Hagans. Like there's a bunch of talent here that got undrafted, and it leads me to an article I found from Liam Blutman. I want to shout out him. He had posted this article back in April 2019. He said there was an issue with the NBA draft. Like, you know, it's a great opportunity for a lot of young men to want to declare and be one of the 60 guys to get drafted and have the opportunity. It's just that, you know, more and more of these kids, they enter in the draft more than ever. And I feel like too many agents are lying to these kids as far as like where their draft stock would be and whether they'll be ready for the draft or not. So, you know, it could be a few factors like, you know, kids have to get better at their decision making. Is it their circle they involved in that's telling them the wrong things, or like I said, like the agents lying to them? I mean, it could be many different factors. But at the end of the day, like getting into the NBA, that's like one of the toughest things to get in, because there's a lot of good ball players and only like 1 or 2% get in. You know, whether it's getting drafted or being undrafted and signing as a free agent. and then making a roster. So it's a journey is different for a lot of kids, and I just feel like I just feel like kids. I just feel like these kids gotta maybe get better advice or just try to check their circle a little better as far as making a decision. Now, I'm not saying to just crap on kids' dreams or anything, but I just want kids to be cognizant of making a decision, like whether it's the right one at that time to declare early or heck be at college all 4 years, like because technically there's nothing wrong with playing at college for like 3 or 4 years. Like I know, and that's the one thing about the NBA draft this year. I feel like this year's NBA draft, like with no real draft combine or we're not gonna have summer league and all those other factors. Like these kids are getting thrown to the fire, so this is gonna be a mysterious draft. And I feel like the guys who are upperclassmen that got drafted, they probably gonna be more ready to play than the young guys, and we're just gonna see how it plays out. So it's gonna be quite an interesting adjustment for a lot of these kids that aren't gonna be in the NBA, and we're just gonna see how these kids develop. I feel like the upperclassmen are gonna have the upper hand early on. But to conclude, what I'm saying here is that of course, go after your dreams and everything. Strive and do what you have to do and everything. Just be the constant of decision making, move forward with that process. And that's going to conclude everything for the NBA draft. So my overall assessment is that I think James Wiseman is going to end up being the best player in the NBA draft. All right, just to conclude everything involved in the NBA in general, we had some breaking news with Klay Thompson. Unfortunately, he's going to be out for the season again. This time he suffered a torn right Achilles tendon, and he suffered it playing pickup ball out in LA. I believe he was at USC, playing at their practice facility. From what I heard is that he came down the court, got an and-one, got a dunk, and he landed wrong. It was like a freak accident, unfortunately. So it's really a tough break. I mean, it's very depressing. I think a lot of NBA fans are looking forward to seeing the Splash Brothers back in action again. Seeing that they had been off for this time, and Steph and Klay, it was looking like it was gonna be fully recovered and ready to go for the season, and then just to have this unfortunate freak accident with Klay Thompson, it's gonna be tough for the Warriors too, because Klay Thompson, he's one of the best two-way players in the game. Klay Thompson, he can get his shot and be effective offensively. With barely dribbling the basketball, which is more impressive in itself. And he always took on the best offensive player every night defensively, and he was one of the best out there doing it. So that's gonna be a tough loss. I know they still gonna have Draymond there, still gonna have Wiggins. And then they got the rookie James Wiseman. They probably gonna need him more than ever now. It's just that when you look at Andrew Wiggins, like we kind of already know what he is. I know a lot of people was high on his talent when he got drafted and everything, but Wiggins, he seems like he's a guy that just wants to do just enough to, make his bread and, just live life afterwards. So I don't think Wiggins has a passion for the game like that. And he's not gonna fully replace what Klay Thompson provided, if that. So, and I've been hearing rumors with the Warriors as far as like future trades. Been hearing rumors about Draymond maybe getting traded, and they was also looking to move Wiggins, before this Klay injury. So they still kind of in a tough spot right now. We just got to see how everything plays out. But the Warriors, they could make the playoffs still, but they're not gonna make much noise, unfortunately. Like without Klay Thompson, it's gonna be pretty tough to do. So I hope Klay. I wish Klay has another speedy recovery. It's gonna be another year without him. And the thing with these Achilles injuries is like when you use your legs, you definitely need that quick first step. You definitely need that first step to jump and get a shot off or just get a layup or drive to the basket and get a dunk. And you constantly need that first step. And with Achilles injuries, it's a lot tougher to get that first step back. So hopefully Klay can get back to his normal self and, beat the odds and everything. So wish you well, Klay. All right, let's go ahead and cover the pigskin. We're going to get to the National Football League. I'm going to cover the game of the week from last week, in my opinion. The Rams and Seahawks. And once again, the Rams, they've been owning Russell Wilson, man. Russell Wilson, fell to 3-8 for his career against the Rams. The Rams, they just seem to get the best out of him in general. Russell Westbrook, he's kind of playing his way out in the MVP race. Like, he's still in it, but he's kind of free falling, man. Like, the Seahawks are currently crashing and burning right now. The Rams, they went ahead and beat them 23-16, but the score really wasn't close throughout the game. Like, the Rams, they was pretty much up double digits for most of the game. Starting out, like the Rams got on the board with a field goal, but then Seahawks took the lead with Alex Collins running in for a touchdown. But after that, the Rams, they just dominated the game. They was up as much as 23-13, in the third quarter. And then after that, Seattle really couldn't get anything going. Now, what you did see out on the field is that we seen a premier matchup between Jalen Ramsey and DK Metcalf. Now, I'm gonna get into this conversation later on about DK Metcalf. My producer was very high on DK. I mean, I'm high on DK too, but DK, he's gonna be special. He has improved. As far as his route running and like getting off the line, but we still seeing that it still needs to be polished a little bit. And of the times that Jalen Ramsey did cover him and everything, DK overall throughout the game only had 2 catches, and Jalen Ramsey was just all over him, man. Like, DK really couldn't get open, and there was times where Russell Wilson was trying to hit him deep, and I remember on one play Russell Wilson hit him deep, and DK did have a step on Jalen. It's just that, and Russell did put it on the money, and DK just didn't come up with it. But other than that, there was many instances in the game where Russell Wilson was trying to look for DK down the field, and he just couldn't pull the trigger because Jalen was just there. Like, he was in fear of turning the ball over again. But the Rams in general, they forced Russell into a few more turnovers anyway throughout the game. And we gotta continue to give Aaron Donald his flowers and everything. Aaron Donald, he's clearly the best defensive player in football. Like, just what he does in the trenches, at the line of scrimmage. He's just a tough guy to block, and you really gotta atone for him with double teams and everything, and chip at him a little bit if possible, because the dude is strong as heck. But at the end of the day, Seattle, they really need to get it back together, because otherwise they could really lose this division. And by the time this show get recorded, I mean, the Cardinals and Seahawks would have already played since the Thursday night game. But, we got to see if Seattle going to get back into form. I know they lost to the Cardinals the first time, and they definitely need a split for sure to still be able to contend within the division. But speaking of DK, man, I want to actually, before I get into DK, I do want to touch on the Rams. But I just want to say that I did mention that the Rams, they are a much better team at home. Like, Jared Goff, he threw for over 300 yards. And then Malcolm Brown, he chipped in with 2 rushing touchdowns. But the Rams, we're gonna see how they do against Tampa Bay next week. But they're gonna be on the road, and I keep telling people, like, there's Dr. Jekyll and Hyde in this team, and you're gonna see the worst out of the Rams, I believe, on Monday night when they play Tampa. But I may touch on that game later on. So props to the Rams. They still in contention for the NFC West too, and the NFC West, they still the most competitive division in all of football. But speaking of DK Metcalf, I want to get into it. Me and my producer, we had a conversation last weekend. We was chopping up in the car and everything, and he was saying that he would take DK Metcalf over Julio Jones right now, and I thought he was crazy. And I definitely showed him the evidence in regards to that, because I showed him a matchup last year that when Julio Jones and Jalen Ramsey went at it, when the Rams played the Falcons in Atlanta. And, Julio got Jalen a few times, and while Jalen did win some matchups, Julio won more times than when DK won against Jalen. You clearly see the difference in route running. Julio still has the quick feet. He's still big and strong. And, like, on his comeback routes are still arguably the best in the league. And Julio can block in the run game. Like, I haven't really seen that from DK yet. Like, DK is not really a complete receiver. Now, I understand that DK is fast and everything, but you got to be a fully polished wide receiver overall, and Julio still has it, even at his age. Because Julio, he just turning into his 30s. So Julio's still one of the best in the league. It's just that Julio, when he does get nicked up, it might affect him a little bit, just depending on the injury. But when he's healthy, the dude's still putting out 100-yard receiving performances and still contributing in the run game. So I had to get on my producer about that. I had to show him a few breakdowns. Brian Baldinger, he broke down, the Julio Jalen matchup, and then he broke down the DK and Jalen matchup, and it's clear as day. Like, it's not even close right now. So I had to get on him a little bit for that. I had to teach him a little lesson about that. So
we'll see. We'll see next week what DK did to Peterson and DeAndre Hopkins. We'll see next week.
I mean, you do know what happened to DK that first matchup.
It happens, man.
You do know what happened.
He's young. It's gonna happen.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Jerry Rice is probably at one point he didn't have good games against good corners. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
It happens. He's young. He's only in the second year.
Yeah.
It's okay. It happens.
Yeah. But you said you would take him right now with Julio, and that's crazy. That was nuts. That was nuts, man. I'm sorry. Yeah, I think you're going crazy on that, my brother.
Well, that's cool.
But as we get away from that, we're gonna touch on the Chiefs and Raiders. This has turned into a heated rivalry again. The Raiders, they are back contending for the playoffs or contending for the division, even though I think the Chiefs gonna win the AFC West still. But shout out to the Raiders. They're currently 6-3 right now. They're playing some decent, good football. Derek Carr is back to what he was when he first got the job. He was an MVP candidate before suffering a serious shoulder injury, and it looked like he's getting back to form. And you got a balanced running game with Josh Jacobs, and then you got Jalen Richard out the backfield and passing down situations. And their defense is doing just enough. Jonathan Abram back there in the secondary holding it down, clocking guys. And then you got, Cleveland Farrell. He's getting a little better in defensive line. And overall, like, the Raiders, they're a pretty good coach team. And John Gruden, you gotta give him credit, man. John Gruden, he's always been one of the best coaches out there. It's just that at times, like, his draft history is kind of mediocre throughout. But I feel like in his time with the Raiders, they starting to get some talent. They putting all the pieces together. Now with the Raiders, they still gotta find that legit number one receiver, but right now, even though it's Darren Waller, he's a tight end. Like, he's the clear number one receiver. I'm talking about the guys on the outside. Like, you still got to develop those guys. Because you already got Renfro in the slot. You could be that Julian Edelman or Wes Welker type. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's a possession receiver. If you need a third down conversion, he'll find a way to get open and convert. But there was a lot of... But the Chiefs are not happy about what happened after the first time they matched up. Earlier in the season, Las Vegas, they came into Arrowhead and got a win. Gave the Chiefs their only loss so far. And then afterwards, we heard some behind the scenes stuff in regards to the Raiders taking the victory lap. And players are saying that wasn't their idea at all. It was the coach's idea. They trying to throw their coach under the bus with that. But I don't know, man. I don't know if I fully believe that. I think some of the players may have got involved with that too. It's claimed that John Gruden was saying that the bus driver was being a smart aleck or whatever, I guess, when the Raiders got back on the bus and everything. And John Gruden, he really didn't like what the bus driver had said, and he forced the bus driver to go around the Arrowhead parking lot, just drive around and everything. So that was the whole victory lap thing. And, Andy Reid has spoke his piece on it. Travis Kelce spoke his piece on it. A lot of guys, they're not happy about that. And they're also not happy about what they saw on film. They've been pretty much locked in, since they had escaped the way of the victory against Carolina. They've been locked in on film against the Raiders, and they just been ready to go. They can't wait to get back out there because I know Travis Kelce, he's been saying for weeks that he didn't like what he's seen on film. And he's ready just to get back at the Raiders. So the Chiefs, they, as Frank Clark would say, there's blood in the water. There's blood in the water, and they clearly see it right now. So they're looking forward to getting back out there and, smashing the Raiders. And I think the Raiders are going to be in for a long night of Sunday Night Football. And I think in my opinion, I'm going to go ahead and say that's the game of the week. It might be a little biased. There's a bunch of good games out there. You got the Buccaneers, the Rams. You got the Packers and the Colts. I mentioned Seahawks and Cardinals. Titans and Ravens. There are a bunch of good games this week, but I got to go with the Chiefs and Raiders this week. I got to go with my Chiefs, man, because that's a game that a lot of people in general are looking forward to, like seeing how the Chiefs are going to respond to what the Raiders did in Arrowhead, and I think the Chiefs going to come out just hit them in the mouth, man. So I think the Chiefs gonna beat them in double digits. It's not gonna be close, and the score may end up being close in the end just because the Chiefs will be so far ahead. But I don't know, man. I think both sides of the ball are gonna put on a show, and Patrick Mahomes is gonna put on a heck of a performance. Like in prime time, usually puts on the show in general. So I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if Pat threw for like over 350 and 4 touchdowns, and Tyreek have his big games, and Travis Kelce have his big game. So that's going to conclude with the National Football League, and that's going to conclude this week's show, episode number 13. I want to thank y'all for tuning in, and again, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the comment section, and share on all your social media platforms. And until episode 14, we are out. Let's go Chiefs! Julio!